Hi, my name is Bill Robert, and I'm the co-founder of WX, a workplace consulting and analytics company. We help large organizations to quantify and improve their workplace experience thanks to workplace analytics and ethnography. Check out in the description if you want to learn more about what we do, and subscribe to our YouTube channel if you want to have more insights like this one. In this video, we'll talk about the most despised piece of furniture in modern workplace design, the cubicle. A despised furniture that most companies have decided to remove from their recent refurbishments to the profit of open spaces. However, with the COVID, some organizations are starting to believe this might be a convenient solution to create distancing while keeping density in the workplace that is fit for interaction. I'll show you some ideas, and we'll discuss if this could be compatible with activity-based working. So let's get started. So let's start by the basis. A cubicle is a partially enclosed office workspace that is separated from neighboring workspaces by partitions. It has been very popular in the 80s and in the 90s, but let's be honest. I don't know anyone to tell me you love cubicles. Maybe you do, so let me know in the comments. I am genuinely interested. But first, let me tell you about the story behind the cubicles. To me, it's fascinating. A guy named Nikhil Saval has actually written a book about it, and I put the reference below if you are interested. Herman Miller, the office furniture maker, in 1960 created a research institute called the Herman Miller Research Corporation, led by the infamous inventor of the cubicle, Robert Probst. His first major project was an evaluation of the office as it had evolved during the 20th century, and in particular how it functioned in the 60s. It included learning about the ways people work in an office, how information travels, and how the office layout affect their performance. Many experts were involved: mathematicians, behavioral psychologists, and anthropologists. The studies suggested that an open environment actually reduced communication between employees and impeded personal initiative. Remember, open space was the norm before the 60s. For him, office workers require both privacy and interaction, depending on which of their many duties they were performing. Here comes the first result of these studies, the Action Office 1, AO1, in 1964. AO1 featured desks and workspaces of varying height, which allowed the worker a freedom of movement and to assume the work position best suited for the task. However, it was expensive and difficult to assemble, and yields to poor sales, despite a genuine interest from the design community. Probst reworks on his concept of an office capable of constant change to suit the needs of the employee without having to purchase new furnishings, and allowing the employee a degree of privacy and the ability to personalize the environment without impacting the environment of the workers nearby. He believed that people are more productive within the territorial enclave that they can personalize, but also that they require vistas outside their space. Hence came the AO2. The components were interchangeable, standardized, and simple to assemble and to install. But most importantly, they were highly flexible, allowing employers to modify the work environment as needs changed. The AO2 lineup met with unprecedented success, and other manufacturers quickly copied it. To this day, it's still in their Herman Miller lineup, who sold for billions of dollars of his concept. The Cubicles has since been heavily criticized for obstructing the flow, the visual interactions, and the ability to freely discuss in an office. Can we say it doesn't look good in architecture magazines? It fell out of favor early in the century as Silicon Valley startups embraced open offices to encourage collaborations, and companies elsewhere mimicked the idea. Dilbert has been probably the harshest critic and made the cubicles universally hated in the workplace design field, until today. But as you can see, its foundations were far from being silly or dogmatic, and we're actually backed up by a lot of research. At WX, we've measured that sound, the most natural, quantified manifestations of physical interactions, is lower by 30% in open spaces versus traditional environment, which is surprising for a workplace that is supposed to increase physical interactions, isn't it? Anyway, these days are over. Now with the current mass dementia around hygiene, cubicles appear as an interesting alternative to bring back people without splitting space. Some companies are already putting back plexiglass partitions to provide a safe environment, like a cubicle on the cheap. Is this a regression? I don't think so. And here's why. The biggest change in modern workplace design has not been open spaces, but activity-based working. There are two very different things. Activity-based working relies on the principle that people need the choice of setting to better perform at work. It includes workstations, as in open spaces and in cubicles, but also a large palette of spaces to accommodate their different activities. That's why you can have unassigned desks without even thinking of the actual occupancy of the place, because people will eventually use more of their other spaces and use less of their workstations. So here's what I believe. Cubicles will come back, but not because of coronavirus. Cubicles will come back because they are very practical and modular, and they are an inexpensive solution to create some sort of privacy for procedural work. The current crisis have just allowed people to consider cubicles for what it is really, and not because of the trend. This being said, it does not have to be ugly and covered in brown felt. Furniture makers, Herman Miller, Steelcase, and the many others are all now proposing cooler, more modular models. So think about it in your next refurbishment. If you believe your company culture is special, don't treat it with the same recipes as everyone else. If your employees tell you they hate the open space, don't necessarily look to pay for more change management. Maybe some cubicles, even in the sign, will make the trick. So, I wish you good luck, and I see you in the next video.